Welcome to our follow-on game to our Waterloo game you saw last weekend. As you probably seen, if you've caught up on that video, we played Durland's Assault and we were just rolling into the Prussians about to attack on the French right flank, and the French had committed their young guard in the centre but had just lost La Hissant, and the British were counter-attacking on their right, and the French generals conceded at that time. So we never saw the deployment of any French units against the Prussians, so we thought we'd remedy that. So we were playing that game on a 4-foot wide section of the table, so we've replicated that here, and we've got our version of Placenau in front of us. The buildings in the front right of this shot are the church, and then there's two more built up areas, one at the front and one at the rear of the village, to represent the whole of the Placenau area. Okay, so we'll kick off by rolling for ADCs for the first turn. So the Prussians have 2 regiments or 2 brigades on table and 2 off table in reserve, but we'll just, given that we originally started on larger tables, we'll count everything as on table reserve, so everything will be activated on 3s. They don't activate a single brigade. That's a terrible roll to start with. And for the French, 2 on-table brigades and a 3rd one that's in reserve. So they only get 1 ADC. All right, not a great start. We'll roll for activation. Okay, so all regiments on the table are active, but the guards are inactive, as are the Prussian off-table reserves. So let's roll for initiative. Both sides are on -1. Charlie's going to roll for the Prussians. He gets a 10. And the French get an 11.
That was very close.
So the French get initiative for the first turn. Okay, so the French have deployed one of their battalions in line, supporting their artillery battery, and pushed forward their skirmish screen on the right. On the Prussian right, the Prussian lancers have driven in the French skirmish screen, which is retired into the village, and otherwise Charlie's moved his Landwehr, his Berg infantry and other troops forward, and we'll move on with the exchange of fire, starting with the French and the French artillery. Okay, so opening fire from the churchyard first at the Prussian skirmisher screen, but because the skirmishers are within 3 inches of the infantry battalions, the skirmishers don't provide a benefit, so we will get 3 dice, but the first casualty will be against the Prussian skirmishers. That's 1 cocked dice.
If that's a 6.
That's 2 casualties, 1 on the skirmish screen, Charlie, and 1 on the battalion behind. And then we'll fire our artillery battery against the Berg infantry. And we roll a 7. At long range, that will just be 1 casualty. So we'll mark those up, and then it'll be the Prussians. Charlie's firing his artillery battery down here at which built-up area? This one here, Charlie?
No.
Yeah, okay. So again, that's at long range. This will be -1 and then halved.
It might be effective.
No.
We'll
check afterwards.
7. That'd be a long cash.
That'll be nothing because you halve it. So that'll be no casualties, and we'll mark the French casualty up from the skirmisher fire against the church that you also caused. What's the range, Charlie?
It's in effective range.
Okay, so the French position remains pretty much unchanged. We remain in line, supporting our artillery battery. Our skirmish screen is now starting to engage with the Prussian skirmish screen. Their first wave of brigades is advancing forward. The Berg are just behind their screen of lancers, approaching the built-up areas, with their Prussian regulars in support. And on the right, the Landwehr have actually charged into the church. We don't expect them to get in this time, but it's the start of Charlie's grind them down process. In addition, the Prussians have now brought on the start of their 2nd brigade. So here we are on the right. We've got another regular line regiment, 2 regiments of musketeers with the flags, and the Fusiliers on their left. And then we've got the Lutzow battalions to their left, 2 battalions of Lutzow and another reservist battalion with them, moving up as part of this next brigade. So substantial numbers of Prussians on the table. They've now got, 3, 7, 13 battalions on the table, facing off against just 6 French, trying to hold them at bay. Let's see how we go as we move into shooting and then close combat.
There's more than double Prussian regiments than there are French.
Indeed, Charlie was saying there's nearly twice as many Prussians. So let's see if Charlie can make that superiority at this stage in the game. The French caused a couple of casualties with their skirmishers, and they'll now open up with their artillery battery They're going up against the Prussian regulars with that blue flag there. That's approaching. And we roll a 4. That'll be a nothing. That'll be a, yeah, just no effect. No fatigue casualties, but no effect for the French. Not a great turn. Now, Charlie's return fire with history. Let's do the fighting for the built-up area. There was some ineffective skirmish fire from the Prussians, and we're moving straight into the land there, charging in. Let's roll for the French. And we get 2 casualties for the French.
3.
Put them down, Charlie.
Oh, should I put them down?
Yeah, well, I would have liked to have seen them before you picked them up.
Should I re-roll it?
Yeah, please. Really good. 3 casualties. Well done. So you've won that combat by 1. Okay, so Charlie won that combat by 1. I've already got 1 casualty, so I'm now on 4. So I only get to roll 4 dice this time. You keep the built-up area benefit if you're in a strong point, which the church is. So Charlie is still on -1. So Charlie's rolling 3. I'm rolling 4. I get 2 casualties. He's got 3. He's done it again. The Prussians have ejected the French from the church. Well done, Prussians. Well done, Charlie. Okay, so the Berg infantry have also charged in against this next built-up area, so we've got some defensive fire from the French garrison. That does cause 2 casualties on the Berg infantry. And then we'll fire... No, that's it.
I get initiative, so I get to fire first.
You get to fire first. All right, Charlie's fire. So we've done the skirmish fire. Now the French guns are going to fire at the encroaching Prussian battalion. That's better. That's a 9, and this one will be at effective range. So let's see what we get with a 9 at effective range. Is 2 casualties and a discipline test on those Prussians, please, Charlie.
It's worse than I always thought.
They're regulars.
I always think artillery fire is so powerful, it's worse. Oh, it'll be unformed.
Okay.
It's always worse than I think it will be, the artillery.
Do you want to get an unformed marker for them, Charlie, so we don't forget? Rolling for hand-to-hand combat. Charlie's reservist here, but he hasn't taken 4 casualties. How many have you done? He's done 3. That's pretty good.
I've gotten 3 now.
Well, I've done 2, so we will fight on for another round. So with the casualty results being within 1, we fight a second round. So this time the French get 2 more casualties.
3 again!
And Charlie's done 3 again, really?
Yes.
Wow, so despite the French having superiority in all of these combats, they've been forced out of another part of the village. This initial Prussian assault has got great momentum.
The funny thing, every single roll I have the casualties has been a 3 so far.
I know, Charlie has transferred his luck with the English dice to his Prussian dice. Okay, so Charlie's been pretty tactical here. He's pulled back his Berg infantry that were occupying this built-up area, done a voluntary withdrawal and taken an extra casualty, and he's done the same thing with his Landwehr that are in the churchyard. And he's brought in fresh Landwehr and fresh Berg infantry battalions. So although they are unformed, both of his units occupying the built-up areas are now with no casualties. On the French side, the 2 French battalions that have been thrown out of the village have reformed up, but are heavily damaged. And the stronger French brigade, the one on the right-hand flank, although it's in good shape, is unfortunately hesitant, so can't do anything. All right, let's crack on. Prussians to open fire. Is that right, Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay, Prussians to open fire first. Do you want to fire your skirmishers first, Charlie?
So I fired these ones, so they get 2 dice. Nothing. These ones, 2 dice. Nothing.
The ones over here?
I've already rolled for them.
Okay.
So my artillery is green.
Yeah, it's green, so it can't do anything.
Nothing
For the Prussians. All right, we'll open fire with the French then. Let's do the French skirmisher screen here. That's 1 casualty on the Prussians, and then the other skirmisher screen doesn't do anything. Then we'll fire from the built-up area at the Berg infantry who are in the built-up area, and we do nothing. So the only thing left to fire will be the French artillery battery here. It would like to fire at the Berg infantry in the village, but unfortunately can't because it can only fire straight ahead because it's in the hesitant brigade. So it's going to fire at effective range, does 4, That does nothing.
It'd
Not
actually,
a great turn for the French.
It'd be worse if it was active, because you'll get minus 1/2 and you have G casualty.
Right, yeah, indeed. All right, let's move on with the next turn. The French have been firing away in their movement phase. They've moved their line forward here, and they're preparing to counterattack now with some of these French infantry. And the guard can be seen in the distance. They're only 2 turns away from reaching the table. So let's open fire with the artillery. Close range, but it'll be at -1 for firing into built-up area. So 8 becomes a 7. A 7 at close range is 2 casualties in a discipline test. So that's 1 casualty and a discipline test on the Berg infantry. Okay, so let's roll for ADCs for turn 4. French get 4. Sorry, French get 3. Prussians get 4. French, unfortunately, have only got 1 ADC. Prussians have got 2. We'll allocate those and then go for it. Okay, so no charges for the Prussians, but the French have charged in across the front of their guns, taking one of their battalions from this undamaged brigade and seeing if they can recapture the village. So a defensive volley from the Prussians causes 1 casualty on the charging French, and we'll resolve that in hand-to-hand combat. Then we get on with normal movement first for the Prussians. Okay, so the Prussian skirmishers have exchanged fire with the French, nothing too effective. We're now going to open fire. The Prussians have cleared away their units from screening this French right-hand flank, pulled back their skirmish screen, so the guns are now going to open fire at effective range, and they will have some bounce through. So they get an 8 at effective range, is 2 casualties, and then a 4, 5 or 6 for some bounce through, and 1 bounce through casualty, but no discipline test on the French. All right, we'll now do the French return. Okay, now let's see if the French can be as lucky as the Prussians were. They start with 5 dice. They're not a veteran regiment, so they will simply get 4 dice to roll, losing 1 for attacking a built-up area. Unfortunately, they only cause 1 casualty. Defending Prussians are reservists, but they're still under 4 casualties, so they fight at full effect. They cause 2 casualties, so we will go on to a second round of combat. Okay, so this one is just a normal built-up area. So in the second round of combat, you don't get any benefits for defending the built-up area. So both sides are still under 4 casualties, so it's to the French advantage to keep pressing the attack. So they will go. Let's see, how do the Prussians do for their defensive? They cause 2 casualties on the French, and let's see how the French assault goes. And they also cause 2 casualties. That, unfortunately, is a draw, and the French will charge. All right, so we're on turn 8 now, and the French have got initiative. Charlie and his Berg infantry managed to throw them back from their assault on the built-up area, so the French will have to regroup and think about what they do next. Let's first go on with charge declarations in this turn. So we've done a couple of French charges. The French line has advanced here to the right and driven off the French skirmishers. On the left, this French column has attacked the unformed Prussians who were exiting the village to put pressure on them. It's quite a dodgy one because they've already taken 7 casualties. Charlie has rolled an 11, which will be at half effect because he is in column, but he will do some casualties on those charges. So Charlie's Landwehr have hopefully pulled off a good result for them. So they have caused 1 casualty. It would be 3 casualties on an 11, but it's only 1 casualty because you halve it, but it's still a discipline test. So at -2, so let's see how we do. They've gone. And that will be a falter on that brigade.
For everyone.
Well, no. There's 2 brigades, 2 French brigades here.
Is it this and?
It's this one, that one, and that one.
So if they.
Well, it depends what I get on the falter test. Hang on, Charlie. Let me just move the troops. We played in the game, didn't we? We played the first battalions of all the French regiments were veterans. So this will be a superior volley as a defensive volley against Charlie's Prussians as they charge in. So superior volley for the French. Let's see what we do. We've only taken 2 casualties. Not great. We roll a 6 on the superior volley. Is 2 casualties on that French charging battalion. Let's do the charge results.
I have a problem. There's no more casualty markers for the Prussians now.
We'll just put a dice next to them then, Charlie. Okay, so the French have an advantage of 1 in this combat because we caused 2 casualties when the Prussians charged in. We roll a 6.
8.
All right, so
I
you win by 1.
Yeah, I don't get any minuses, but you get a +1, so yeah, I still win by
So you melee with a lan, and I melee unformed. That's unfortunate for the French. All right, French guns are going to open fire at probably close range against this Prussian infantry unit. We roll a 9. That's pretty good.
It might not be close range.
Yeah, if it is, it's 3 casualties in a discipline test. If it's not, it'll be 2 casualties in a discipline test.
I hope it's
and there will be bounce through, but the bounce through doesn't do anything.
It's just in, I think.
So 3 casualties then, and a discipline test at -1, Charlie.
No, not -1.
Yep, because they are on 2 casualties and they've just taken another 3.
It's fine.
What did you get?
I got 8, so it just makes sense.
7. Yeah, they're fine. All right, that's it for firing. Now we go on to hand-to-hand combats as we fight this charge against the French line. Oh no, I've got a defensive volley, haven't I?
You did, but it didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it caused 2 casualties and give you a -1, didn't it?
So
we're doing hand-to-hand combat. You're on 6 dice, I'm on 5. 4. Let's roll for this combat. French get 4 dice, Prussians get 6. French cause 2 casualties.
The Prussians got 3 casualties, and they're all 5s.
Alright, so you win by 1 on an infantry versus infantry attack. I retreat, you take the ground, unformed. So we've had a bit of a disaster for the French. We got a savoir-qui-peur result on the brigade defending the village. So the village now is totally in the Prussian hands. We only have 1 battalion of that brigade left. The other 2 battalions have retired off the table. This right-hand brigade is in weakened state, but the Guard have indeed arrived this turn. So we've got 4 battalions of middle Guard. Let's see if they can turn the tide of battle and do anything to recapture this village. Okay, so some pretty good rolls for the French, and we do have the Guard now on table. So these are our middle Guard regiments, the Grenadiers and the Chasseurs. 4 of them have arrived. They are active. We have rallied the 1 remaining battalion of the regiment that was savoir-qui-peur, and the right-hand brigade for the French is active, as indeed are all the Prussian brigades. So let's roll for initiative. Charlie, let's have 2 for the Germans rather. Prussians have got a 7, French have got a 4, so the Prussians have initiative. They get to charge, and so the only charge is this French infantry battalion that's charging in against that successful Prussian battalion that drove the other French battalion away last turn. Let's see what that defensive volley does. This will be at half effect. What did you roll, Charlie?
I'm 11.
11. Okay, cool. But that'll be at half effect, but that'll still be quite good. So you're unformed, which is -2, and you're a standard volley. And you're in column, which will be half effect. So you rolled an 11, that becomes a 9. A half effect is 1 casualty and a discipline test, which will be good. So that's a test at -1 on the French. They roll a 7, that's a 6, so they go unformed. All right, that could be good for the French. Let's now, sorry for the Prussians. Let's now do the charging results.
I think we both get. Should we just both get -3 because I'm unformed. -2.
Yep.
I have 5 casualties -1. You are the exact same. So
Yep. I'm going to attach my commander.
I'm going to attach my
Commander again, so that's exactly the same.
-2.
So it's a straight roll. Yeah, straight roll off effectively. I get a 3.
5.
You get a 5. You win by 2. You melee with a lan. We're both unformed. Charlie now well and truly occupies the village. The Guard have probably got 1 shot at throwing them out. Let's do the combat down here then.
So
I'm unformed and on 4 casualties. So I'm on 3 dice.
I just get 5 dice because a land and unformed cancel each other's
Yeah, that's right. So I cause no casualties.
I cause 1.
So you do win and I retreat. Charlie, with glee, has realised he can charge his lancers out against my emergency limbered artillery. If I hadn't emergency limbered them, the Landwehr in the village would have been able to charge them as well. So it looks like that's probably the end of my artillery. Otherwise, I think that's it for charging.
Also, your limber can't fight back against cavalry charging, so they instantly get run down.
Yeah, probably do. All right, I might charge your unformed infantry battalion. How many casualties have they taken? 5.
It still might charge us, Dad.
Yeah, but you can't charge with an unformed unit.
You can. But
No, you have to form them first. You can't.
You can't do it.
No, only if it's already in a charge and they go unformed in the charge is the only way to do it.
Yeah. So,
All right, any more charges from you, Charlie?
No.
All right, my charges. I'm going to charge you with my... Prussian skirmishers did passing fire, and as did the Prussian infantry battalion, but didn't cause any casualties. We're both at -1. I'm throwing my general in. You've got your general in.
Yeah. So I just get -1. You get -nothing.
I get -nothing. I roll a 10.
I roll a 9, so it's combat.
So I win one. I win by 2. I melee with a land this time.
No,
you melee unformed.
Win by 2. It's win by 3 or higher. It's a melee.
It's attacker melee with a land.
No. So if you...
Yeah, I won by 1, and there was a 1. I had a 1. I got 10. I go up to 11. You got 9. I won by 2.
I thought it was always like 3 to 5. I thought it was 3 to 5. It was.
Okay, so Charlie's lancers have charged home, and the artillery, limbered artillery, has dispersed. That's the end of my French artillery support for this game. Okay, so this is a last desperate counterattack by the French Guard. This is the middle guard going in, trying to capture Plancenow. It's all firmly in Prussian hands. Charlie's got some defensive volleys to execute. As we look across to the right, you can see the Prussian brigades still deployed in depth and have fully occupied this flank and driven off the French.
I just remembered we have a charge, don't we?
We have a charge to do down here as Charlie's pesky lancers have gone into the flank of this already retiring French brigade. And the other small French brigade, the last battalion, is already broken. So this attack by the Guard really is the last chance. Let's see if Charlie can drive it away, and we'll see how these guys... Let's roll for this combat. I'm on -6, so I go down to 1.
I go down...
You're on 8.
I go up to 8.
You destroy that battalion. You've won by more than 6. That's pretty good for the French, pretty good for the Prussians, pretty terrible for the French. That already retiring brigade has another fall to test, but it would be doing one of those anyway. All right, we won't move those troops for a second. Let's do the defensive fire up here. So you've got your skirmishers firing against the Guard, Charlie.
I just need to get
I'll let you get Charlie's defensive volleys have driven the left-hand battalion into unformed status. All right, let's see how the Guard do. They've got a lot of dice. They do a lot of casualties. That's 4 casualties.
I did 4.
Wow, that's a draw. That's a remarkable... Charlie's Lambert are living up to all their previous reputations, and there indeed are his 4 dice. No, nothing dodgy going on, and there are my 4 from the Guard. All right, we fight the second round. Have made it in, but they're up against an incredible mincing machine of Prussian troops who will now try and throw them out again. So that was a successful attack by the middle guard. They have captured the first part of Plancenow. We'll see how the rest of them... Right, fighting the next round of combat, Charlie's chucked in 2 more Prussian battalions, his veterans.
Nothing.
I cause 3. I throw them back.
We do have 2 more turns to go still.
All right, we're moving straight into the next turn. This is really the crunch. So Charlie has wheeled his lancers round, and they've gone into the supporting guard battalion, which potentially gives him an advantage this turn. He's then got a choice. He can charge in with his Berg, who are quite heavily injured, or he can have a go with his unsupported 2nd Battalion. You're going to go for that unsupported 2nd Battalion?
So.
Yeah, so neither of us will have supports in the next turn. First, let's do the charge results with your lancers. All right, charging again, I get 5 dice, Charlie gets 4. Yeah. I only cause 2 casualties.
I cause 1.
We go again, all right, and I'll mark my casualties up.
Oh, you're on 7, but yeah. It doesn't change anything for me.
So you're on 3, yeah. So I'm only on 4 dice this time.
I get 5 dice this time too.
All right, but yes, because you don't have the built-up area penalty. Let me just check my dice. Fighting the second round of combat, I only get 4 dice. I do 2 casualties.
I do 3.
You push me back out of the village. Right. So we've both caused 5 casualties on one another, which is pretty damaging.
It's a draw though.
And it's a draw. So in a cavalry versus infantry attack on a draw, the infantry stand and the cavalry return to their own lines, but have taken heavy casualties with the Guard. Okay, so this is the end of the game. The Prussian forces still retain control of Plancenow. The French middle guard was able to fight its way in, but the sheer weight of Prussian forces and the number of troops they've still got, including a large number of undamaged battalions, means that they've been able to drive these 4 battalions, attacking battalions, back. The French brigades over here basically are wrecked. One has 9 casualties. In fact, both of these battalions, one has 9, one has 6 casualties. Although they have rallied, they're not going to be able to do anything to support the guard. This one has got 5 casualties, and looking at the guard, one unit's got 11, one's got 9, and one's got 5 casualties. So even though they were able to fight their way in the village, the sheer number of Prussian units has pushed them back out. So I think at this stage we'll declare this a Prussian victory. The Guard were not able to stem the attack of the Prussians, and despite committing 4 of our Guard battalions, Plassano has fallen, and the French attack continues to crumble, and that means only 4 old Guard battalions remain available to Napoleon to support his attack on the centre or shore up this right flank, and I think he'd have to send at least a couple this way to shore up this flank. So great result, great game, and hopefully a nice spectacle. See us again next time.